I definitely made a mistake on the course setup. I should have listened a little bit more to my intuition, and we for whatever reason that wasn't the right way to set the course up. We didn't expect the greens to be this soft. They were.
Keegan Bradley just dropped a bombshell that's shaking the entire golf world. Forget Ryder Cup scores. This was raw, unfiltered, and painfully human. Just weeks after leading Team USA to a crushing defeat, Bradley finally broke down and revealed what really happened behind the scenes. And what he confessed on camera might change everything. Haunting loss. The 2025 Ryder Cup was supposed to be Keegan Bradley's redemption story, his cinematic comeback after being snubbed from the 2023 roster. Instead, it became his personal Greek tragedy. Under the glaring New York sun at Bethpage Black, with chants of USA shaking the fairways, Bradley's meticulously planned dream imploded in slow motion. The US team, led by world number 1 Scottie Scheffler and the always volcanic Bryson DeChambeau, entered as favorites, hungry for revenge. But Europe, icy and surgical under Luke Donald's leadership, delivered a masterclass in calm execution. By the end of day 1, Europe led 6.5-1.5. It wasn't just a bad start, it was a collapse dressed as competition. Bradley's innovative pairings, hailed as bold hours earlier, now looked desperate. Cantlay and Morikawa couldn't sink a putt to save a flag. DeChambeau sliced drives like a weekend amateur. Every mistake echoed louder because it wasn't just golf, it was national pride bleeding out in real time. Saturday deepened the nightmare. As Europe extended the lead to 11.5-4.5, even the most optimistic American fans muttered that it felt cursed. Social media buzzed with conspiracy theories, bad pin placements, course setup sabotage, even whispers of locker room tension. The crescendo came on Sunday, when Team USA mounted a miraculous rally. Thomas drained a 20-foot putt that briefly resurrected hope. But Rory McIlroy, forever the American dream crusher, clinched the cup minutes later. Silence fell. Bradley stood on the 18th green, microphone trembling in his hand, voice cracking as he said, "I'm proud, but it hurts." That moment became viral legend, the stoic captain's mask breaking before millions. He had spent 2 years plotting redemption, and all he got was heartbreak in high definition. Analysts on CBS called it one of the most painful collapses in modern golf. But for Bradley, it wasn't about numbers, it was personal. As the European team celebrated, champagne soaking the press tent, Bradley slipped into the shadows of Bethpage. Cameras caught him later that night walking alone past the empty stands, hat still on, head low. It wasn't defeat that broke him, it was the thought that maybe, after all the obsession and preparation, he simply wasn't enough. Captain's burden. Keegan Bradley's tenure as captain wasn't marred by one catastrophic decision. It was death by 1,000 doubts. Every pairing, every tee placement, every whispered pep talk became a breadcrumb in the trail of self-blame that followed. At 39, the youngest US Ryder Cup captain in nearly half a century, Bradley had been sold as the new face of analytical golf, data-driven, modern, fiery. But when Europe dismantled his strategy piece by piece, those same innovations became his tormentors.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to set the course up to help our team. Obviously, it wasn't the right decision. I think anytime you're the leader of a team or you're the captain or the coach or whatever, we talked about this last night, you're going to get the accolades and you need to take the blame for when things don't go well.
The biggest ghost? Course setup. Bethpage Black, a monster when played raw, was softened under Bradley's direction to favor birdie runs. "I definitely made a mistake on the course setup," he later confessed, voice gravelly, regret thick in the air. That single admission detonated across golf media. Experts tallied birdies like body counts. Europe had 28 more. His carefully calculated edge became the very weapon that undid him. Then came the second guessing. Why bench Thomas? Why trust rookie Akshay Bhatia over seasoned veterans? Why slow the greens? The critiques stacked higher than the trophy he didn't get to lift. Bradley's post-cup insomnia wasn't poetic exaggeration, it was literal. Reports surfaced that he replayed every shot in his head, haunted by decisions that once felt brilliant. "When you're the leader," he said in Hartford weeks later, "and you lose, you have to take the blame. This is no one else's fault." It was both noble and devastating. a confession drenched in exhaustion. Even his own players, like Thomas and Scheffler, publicly defended him. We needed to make more putts. But Bradley couldn't let go. The weight of captaincy wasn't shared. It was solitary confinement dressed in a navy blazer. Golf's glittering world rarely admits cracks in the facade, yet Bradley's breakdown forced everyone to stare at the truth. This isn't just a game. It's a mental siege. Behind every fist pump and champagne spray lies a human teetering on burnout. His huge announcement at Travelers was more than an emotional speech. It was the sound of someone unlearning perfection. Bradley's voice shook when he said, "I don't think I'll ever get over this." The crowd fell silent. That's when golf stopped being polite and started getting painfully real. Aftermath chaos. When the final European birdie fell, America didn't just lose a tournament, it lost its composure. Fans wept, memes spread, and trended within hours. Bradley's shell-shocked expression became the internet's newest obsession, part heartbreak, part haunted stare. The US locker room was described by insiders as eerily quiet, a funeral with golf bags.
Yeah, I mean, the Europeans won one match today. Like, you think about the odds of something like that happening, just on a coin flip would be incredible. But when you go out when they're in the sports and you're battling your butt off to win, it just shows you just how proud these guys are and how much they want this and how how much this means to them. And to watch them go out all week and hold their heads high and then go out there today.
Bradley tried to play the part, shaking hands, congratulating opponents, but the mask cracked fast. According to Golf Week, he spent that night pacing alone, muttering through missed shots like a man possessed. His family later admitted he barely slept for days. The so-called Ryder Cup hangover wasn't metaphorical, it was physiological. Adrenaline, cortisol, regret, a chemical cocktail that left him hollow. At the post-match presser, Bradley said all the right things. Europe played better. But his eyes betrayed him, red, glassy, defeated. The clip went viral on X, formerly Twitter. A broken captain trying to sound composed while grief leaked from every syllable. Within 24 hours, Golf Digest called it the loneliest moment in American golf. And yet, amid the chaos, a strange duality emerged. Half the country wanted him replaced, the other half canonized him as a tragic hero. Phil Mickelson tweeted, "Keegan gave everything, golf owes him." The narrative flipped from incompetence to martyrdom overnight. Privately, Bradley unraveled. He withdrew from appearances, skipped the Procore event, and retreated to his Massachusetts home. Sources said he avoided even picking up a club for weeks. His wife, Jill, reportedly encouraged therapy, though he brushed it off at first. "He's too proud," one close friend told reporters. "He wants to suffer through it. That's how he processes." Then came October 21st, Travelers Championship Media Day, the stage where his silence finally cracked. He walked to the mic in a navy pullover, eyes sunken but calm. Reporters expected a simple update, maybe schedule news. Instead, they got an emotional confession that reshaped his legacy. Bradley said quietly, "Since the Ryder Cup, it's been one of the toughest times in my life. It was like watching a dam give way." Suddenly, the stoic competitor wasn't a captain anymore. He was just Keegan, a man undone by the pressure to be perfect. Bethpage had broken him, but in breaking, he revealed something golf desperately needed: honesty. Breaking silence. October 21st, 2025. Hartford, Connecticut. Travelers Championship Media Day. The air was crisp, the crowd expectant, and Keegan Bradley, the man who had carried an entire nation's disappointment on his back, finally stepped up to a microphone that had waited far too long to hear the truth. Reporters expected PR fluff, sponsor shoutouts, maybe a cheerful deflection about moving on. What they got instead was the sound of a man cracking open his soul. "There's no part of me that thinks I'll ever get over this," Bradley said, voice trembling but steady enough to slice through the murmurs. He wasn't reading off cue cards. He wasn't hiding behind cliches. Every sentence landed like a confession, raw and unscripted. You put everything into it, every waking minute for 2 years, and then it's gone in 3 days. The room fell still. Even ESPN's Chris Berman, notorious for cutting in with jokes, sat speechless. Bradley didn't sugarcoat the pain, he narrated it. The long nights, the self-doubt, the obsessive replays of every misread putt and pairing gone wrong. The first 2 days went as poorly as we could have imagined, he sighed, shaking his head. It was emotional, sad, to be honest, brutal. Effing brutal, he corrected, almost laughing through the tears. The crowd chuckled nervously, but the laughter carried weight. It was recognition. For once, golf's stoic culture of composure gave way to a moment of shared humanity. Bradley wasn't just a captain explaining a loss. He was a man mourning a dream that didn't survive the weekend. What made it powerful wasn't the confession itself. It was who was doing the confessing. Keegan Bradley, the fiery grinder, the guy who fist-pumped over 30-foot putts, was publicly admitting defeat not in the game, but in his mind. By the second day, he said, I was so physically exhausted. Honestly, good thing I didn't play. The irony hit like a punchline written by fate. The same man snubbed as a player in 2023, who returned as captain for redemption, now wished he had played, if only to escape the suffocating pressure of leadership. Golf.com later called it the most human moment in PGA media history. Justin Thomas posted within an hour. Keeg's heart is pure gold. That man bleeds for us. Social media turned solemn. Hashtags like and trended overnight. But the moment wasn't about pity. It was about permission. Permission for golfers, fans, and maybe even captains to admit the toll. In the space between his words, Bradley gave the sport something more valuable than a trophy. Honesty that hurt, and healing that finally began. Mental hangover. The Ryder Cup hangover isn't a metaphor, it's a diagnosis. And for Keegan Bradley, it came with all the symptoms of a man haunted by what-ifs. Sleep deprivation, guilt loops, emotional paralysis disguised as stoicism. In his own words, mentally and physically gone.
No, I mean, we sat, or I did, and looked at a lot of info, and we thought this was the best way to set the golf course up to win. You look at past Ryder Cups, and that's kind of how it goes. But sometimes you got to make a decision on what to do. And if I could go back, I probably would have changed that. But the Europeans played just incredible golf. Doesn't matter how you set the course up when you play that well.
Sports psychologists have a term for this: post-performance crash. The human brain, wired for adrenaline and anticipation, burns out when the climax doesn't pay off. For 2 years, Bradley had trained his body and mind for that weekend at Bethpage. When it ended in heartbreak, there was no closure, just an emotional freefall. After something like that, said Dr. Brett McCabe to SI.com, your brain keeps replaying the trauma. It's like a sports version of PTSD. Bradley lived that truth daily. In interviews, he'd describe walking into his garage at night and instinctively reaching for the captain's notes he'd carried all week, only to stop, realize it was over, and just stand there. You can't shut it off, he admitted. His anxiety wasn't new either. A resurfaced 2023 Facebook video showed him saying, "I'm anxious every day of my life. Golf's hard for me." Fans thought it was humility. In hindsight, it was a warning. By October, exhaustion had settled in his bones. He described near collapse on day 3 of the Ryder Cup, a body that had run out of adrenaline but kept pushing through out of pride. So physically exhausted, he said. Good thing I didn't play. Yahoo Sports called it a confession drenched in fatigue. But beneath the exhaustion lay clarity. Bradley wasn't wallowing, he was studying his scars. You learn on the fly, he said, crediting vice captains Fred Couples and Stuart Sink for keeping him afloat. They helped me not completely fall apart. The haunting part? Bradley's love for the event never wavered. You love something so much, he said, that just doesn't give you anything back. That line alone broke the internet, an anthem for every athlete, artist, or dreamer who's ever poured themselves into something that left them empty. Bradley's vulnerability became a mirror. Suddenly, golf didn't look like a country club fantasy. It looked human. The hangover wasn't just his, it was everyone's who'd ever lost something they thought they'd earned. Expert reckoning. By late October, golf pundits had turned Bradley's unraveling into a case study. Was he too young? Too emotional? Too modern? The hot takes piled up faster than tea times. Golf Digest called his appointment a rushed experiment. The Fried Egg defended him, arguing he was a product of a flawed system. Barstool Sports, in classic Barstool fashion, summed it up. Keegan got screwed.
And you were going to get to go play for your country in singles at New York at Bethpage Black, you'd be so excited. Of course, I want to go out there and make history tomorrow. They all do. But I think you got to relish in the opportunity to get out in the course tomorrow and play for your country at a course like this, at a venue like this. I think it's something that you got to look forward to.
The truth, as always, lived somewhere in between. Experts like Joseph LaMagna praised Bradley's energy, but criticized the PGA for throwing him into chaos with minimal prep. He avoided catastrophe, LaMagna wrote, but never had a chance to create consistency. The appointment came too soon, and the expectations were Olympic level. Even so, some analysts saw hope in the wreckage. Keegan didn't fail, said MyGolfSpy. He exposed how outdated the US Ryder Cup machine is. Their post-mortem listed structural issues: poor communication, loyalty over form, and zero psychological support for captains. That last point echoed loudest after his mental health confession. Golf psychologist Dr. Bob Rotella went viral with a quote, "Captains are set up to fail emotionally. They carry everyone's failure, but get none of the shared relief." Bradley's media day honesty proved him right. But amid the critique, Bradley found purpose. Instead of dodging blame, he leaned into advocacy. According to NY Post, he began pushing the PGA to add a mental resource liaison for future captains, a therapist embedded in the team infrastructure. "We've got coaches for putting and swing," he said. "Why not the mind?" Golf fans, often allergic to vulnerability, rallied. Forums and podcasts debated whether Bradley had sparked the sport's mental health era. The conversation shifted from blame to empathy. When Riggs from Barstool tweeted, "Great guy, got really fucked," it didn't read like gossip, it read like gospel. And maybe that's Bradley's quiet victory. In losing the Ryder Cup, he accidentally became its conscience. What was once ridicule, the tears, the trembling voice, the regret, turned into reverence. He didn't just lose a cup, he gained a movement. Waves of support. It started as a trickle, a few tweets, a couple of sympathetic posts. But within 48 hours of his traveler's confession, the wave hit full force. Golf Twitter, usually snarky and divided, found itself united under one phrase. Justin Thomas lit the fuse. "He gave everything for us," he wrote. "We should have played better, period." Within minutes, Bryson DeChambeau echoed, "Keeg's fire lit us up. Loss is on all of us." Even Rory McIlroy, Europe's stoic assassin, tweeted, "Respect the honesty. Class act." That last one? It hit differently. The man who ended Bradley's dream publicly acknowledged his courage. That's not sportsmanship, that's solidarity. Then came the fans. Reddit threads turned therapy sessions. Commenters shared stories about burnout, anxiety, even work failures that mirrored Bradley's despair. "He said what most of us feel," one user wrote. "We give everything to something that doesn't love us back." Phil Mickelson chimed in too, posting a photo of Bradley from 2012 with the caption, "Leaders pay a price. Keegan paid it with heart." That line alone reignited debate over the mental cost of leadership in golf. For once, the conversation wasn't about yardages or strokes gained, it was about survival. Even the PGA, slow-moving as a Sunday leaderboard, issued a statement of support. They thanked Bradley for highlighting the emotional challenges inherent in elite competition. Corporate speak for "we see you, man." Barstool's Riggs put it best. "He got crushed for caring too much, and that's why everyone loves him now." This collective rally wasn't just comforting, it was transformative. Bradley's pain became communal. His breakdown became a breakthrough for fans, players, even media who realized vulnerability wasn't weakness. A particularly viral moment came from an X clip of him saying, "I'll sit with this for the rest of my life." The replies were a digital hug. Hearts, prayer emojis, and messages like, "We've all sat with something like that." Keegan Bradley didn't need to win the Ryder Cup to earn respect. He just needed to tell the truth. And the world listened. Rising again. As autumn leaves fell across New England, Keegan Bradley began to rise, quietly, deliberately, like a man rebuilding from emotional wreckage. By late October, he'd returned to practice at TPC River Highlands, smiling faintly as he striped irons in the fading light. "Back to work," he told reporters. "One swing at a time." He wasn't the same competitor. He was sharper, calmer, scarred, but steady. The announcement that had once sounded like surrender now felt like a rebirth. CBS cameras caught him laughing with fans, even joking about Bethpage. "Guess I'm a better player than a captain." The crowd roared. The tension had broken. His world ranking, number 14, gave him a reason to dream again. Rumors swirled about a comeback at the Hero World Challenge. More tantalizingly, whispers spread that Bradley might chase redemption as a player in the 2027 Ryder Cup. "I'd love one more shot," he said. "Don't know if I'll get it, but I'd love it." It wasn't defiance, it was faith. The kind you only earn after being humbled. Behind the scenes, he leaned on family and therapy. His wife Jill became his anchor, often reminding him that leadership isn't measured by trophies, but by how you handle failure. "He's more patient now," she told Golf Channel. "More present." He still hurts, but he's learning to breathe again. The PGA, inspired by his candor, announced plans to expand its mental wellness program for captains and players. Bradley's breakdown had quietly rewritten policy, his pain now paving the way for others to heal faster, speak sooner. The man who once said, "This event doesn't give you anything," had finally found meaning in loss. "It's funny," he mused at a recent charity outing. "I thought the cup defined me. Turns out, the loss did." The story closed where it began, not with a trophy, but with truth. Keegan Bradley's huge announcement wasn't just a headline. It was a mirror for every athlete who's ever stood in the spotlight and felt the weight of failure. Bethpage took his victory, but it gave him something deeper. Redemption through honesty, strength through vulnerability, and a legacy that outlived the scoreboard. In the end, Keegan Bradley didn't win the Ryder Cup. He won something rarer, the right to be human in a sport that worships perfection. His huge announcement wasn't an apology, it was an awakening. Because sometimes, losing everything is the only way to find yourself again.